well so far. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my thoughts on Salt of the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This is the first book that I completed in 2018 and I just have so many thoughts that I had to make a video review for it. I have a non-spoiler review for this up on my blog, so I will leave a link to that in the description box down below if you'd like to check that out. Salt of the Sea follows 4 characters in the winter of 1945 in the midst of World War II. Each individual character has their own personal backstory and they are traveling in hopes of being able to get on board the Wilhelm Gustloff, which is a ship that is promising them freedom, safety, and the possibility of being reunited with their family members. And I just absolutely fell in love with the story. I love Ruta Sepetys' writing because she just addresses the issues of World War II in such a new and refreshing way, and I learned so much from this novel historically that I personally never knew about, and there's just so much truth within the story that I definitely recommend you all to check it out for yourself. I ended up giving this book a 4 to 5 stars. I loved it so much. And I'm actually going to jump into some spoilers now because I do, like I said before, have a written review for this, and as I was writing the review I was trying to avoid some spoilers and there was just so much on my mind that I wanted to discuss some spoilers. So if you want to learn more about this book without the spoilers, I recommend you check out my review. I will also have a timestamp somewhere on the screen for my final thought, where I will try to not have spoilers in them, but I do want to kind of go through each and some of the bullet points that I have written right here. So yeah, I hope you guys go check this out. Here is the timestamp again if you want to skip ahead to my final thoughts, but I'm going to get into spoilers for this novel, so if you haven't read this book I recommend you pick it up. So goodbye, those of you who have not read this novel. Alright, so I don't even know where I want to begin with this book. I have my notes kind of divided by each character's backstory, so I'm going to start off I guess with Joanna because she is the first character we come across. Joanna, I actually didn't make the connection between her and Lena from Ruta Sepetys' previous novel, Between Shades of Grey. Didn't make the connection that they were cousins until the very end. There's like an excerpt for Between Shades of Grey at the back of Salt of the Sea and I was like, wait, they're the same, they're related, wow, cool. I really admire Joanna as a character, the relationships that she has built with those around her. I absolutely loved her friendship with Ingrid, who is blind, and honestly Ingrid's death, all the deaths in this novel have just impacted me so much. When they got to the point and they were crossing the iced river and Ingrid was like, I'm gonna go first so I can test out how stable the ice is. Like, I knew something bad was going to happen, but when the Russian planes came and like shot at the ice and she fell through, it was just devastating. Like, I don't even know what I want to talk about it. I just wrote Ingrid, her death killed me, and a bunch of sad faces in my notes because I was just in shock. Like, I couldn't believe they would do something like that to Joanna because she has invested so much in Ingrid and she cares and loves this girl so much, and she's also dealing with a lot of guilt for having her cousin being arrested and her being free, and for her being alive while all the people she has met have died. And I don't even know how I want to talk about her. I also, I guess, want to address her relationship with Florian. I thought it was really cute, and it was just this bit of hope that we get in the story because there's just so much death and darkness and all of that just kind of gives the story a very depressing tone, but her slow budding relationship with Florian like gave us that bit of hope that if they can find a little bit of happiness with each other, that they might actually see through this war and have a happy ending. So yes, I feel like Joanna's character impacted me a lot just because she is around my age, and her being so mature just shows how the war really destroyed the innocence of a lot of young people, and I guess that just really impacted me. And her relationships again with the people around her were like, I don't even know. Alright, so Florian, I am kind of confused about him, to be completely honest. He had that whole thing with the art restoration project and all the times that he would pretend to be on some sort of higher mission for Hitler. I thought that was really interesting, but I couldn't exactly, I guess, crack him as a character. From what I can gather, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he's hiding the key to where all of the restored art projects are, or like he's trying to find the room where some treasure is, and he also has the Amber Swan in his backpack. I believe, I'm not entirely sure, I feel like I probably should have like stopped and thought through that part of the book a lot better instead of just flipping through because I was like so invested in the story. I haven't really figured out how I feel towards him as a character. I love him with Joanna, but he has just so many secrets that I don't know how to feel around him, if that makes any sense. This next perspective is like my favorite and the one that destroyed me the most, and that's Amelia's story. I loved her so much, and honestly she just tore my heart apart. There's no other way to describe it. She is such a strong person for such a young age. I think she's like 15 in the novel, and the amount of horrors that she has experienced and witnessed is just incredibly horrifying. When we find out that she's pregnant, at first I'm like, oh no, and then there's that bit of hope where it's like, it's okay, she's gonna get on the ship and she's gonna find August and they're all gonna be a happy family and it'll be okay, Amelia will be okay. And then it is revealed that she made up her relationship with August because she needed something to keep her going, and that in reality she was raped by a troop of Russian soldiers who came onto, I forgot their name, but the family that was hosting her, and the mother gave the soldiers Amelia instead of her own daughter. And that just, it sickened me so much because that's how desperate people get in the war. And I also thought that was very interesting because, at least from my experience, when we hear about World War II, we always see things from the Allies' perspective because, well, I'm from America, so like that's what we learn in school. I feel like we kind of forget that there are so many innocent victims from the Axis side of the story, and to see that she is a Polish girl and she's terrified of the German soldiers, but she hates the Russian soldiers more because of what they did to her. It's just interesting. I feel like I'm not articulating my words properly, but that has just been weighing on my mind a lot after reading her story. And when she finally gives birth to the baby and she doesn't even want to look at her child because of all the horrible memories that the child, I guess, triggers upon her, and then Florian comes over and he is like her knight in shining armor, which I will get to that in a minute, but he just tells her like, oh, she is Poland, like she is the future, and that kind of allows her to open her heart up and release all of the hate that has been building up and see that this is her child, this is her baby. And that was just such a sweet moment in the book that I really appreciated. So going back to what I said about her relationship with Florian, I was really glad that it wasn't romantic. It was kind of one-sided for a while because Florian just didn't want to be burdened by Amelia, but he constantly thought of her as his little sister because he lost his sister in the war, was trying to find her but didn't know where she was. And the way that she called him her knight in shining armor and how she trusted him so much, it just touched me and made me super sad. And then the part where the ship is sinking and she tells Florian to get in the lifeboat because she wants someone that she trusts with all her heart to be in the lifeboat with their arms open ready to catch her baby. And that is honestly one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking scenes in this entire novel. I think I might have cried a little bit. That scene is just forever imprinted. Their relationship is such a beautiful one, and I've been really appreciative of Ruta Sepetys for just creating these characters and building them and how they link together. The last character perspective we have is Alfred, and to be honest, I wasn't really sure how I felt about his character. I will admit that I did skim through maybe like the first half of his perspectives because I just couldn't see how he fit into the story. Most of the time his perspective is him self-composing letters to Hannelore, which I think is like an unrequited love interest of his, but I soon realized that Ruta Sepetys put his perspective into the story because he was an example of the brainwashed German youth during the time. He completely idolized Hitler and his teachings, and it was just so crazy to see that perspective, I guess. Like, you can watch interviews of German youth post the war and they will just say of how great Hitler is and all of those things, but I guess to read it is just a different feeling because at the same time I'm reading three other perspectives whose lives have been drastically impacted by Hitler's decisions, and here is this young youth who is just completely idolizing that man, and I grew to appreciate his perspective a lot more. I don't like his character. I don't think people can like him just for all the ideas that he's clinging on to, that he's sprouting throughout his point of view, but his perspective is incredibly crucial to the story in just opening the eyes of the readers to, I guess, the heart of the problem in Germany at this time. And one of the things that stood out to me was he was so gentle towards Amelia because she looked like a perfect Aryan, I don't know how to say that word, but like the perfect definition of a German girl, like blonde hair, blue eyes type of thing. But the moment that they're on that raft together and he finds out that she's Polish, the first thing he wants to do is to push her off the raft because he's German and he should survive. And just because she might look the part, she's not actually pure because she's Polish and not German. And him trying to push her off the raft to save himself ends up being his own demise. And I was just really sad when that happened because I wanted him to survive and I wanted him to see maybe that the error of his ways and just, I guess, turn around in his ideas. But at the same time, like, it's just, I feel like his death is symbolic in a way. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. So another thing that I didn't address earlier was Amelia's death. I feel like I talked about Amelia so much that I felt like I had to jump to Alfred's point of view. But quickly, I was really confused about Amelia's death because I wasn't sure what exactly happened. So from what I can remember, she drifts on the raft to this person's house and their house is not surrounded by water, but she shows up and I guess gives them the pack and then dies, which broke my heart because I really wanted her to survive. But that last letter at the end where it kind of closes the story together, where we find that Florian and Joanna survived with the wandering boy with Amelia's daughter and they moved to America and that's their little family, and I was just so happy for them. But then when we find out that Amelia didn't make it, that she was never reunited with her daughter, it just broke my heart even more. And I feel like that was when I realized how big of an impact this story had on me. I don't know what I wanted to say about it, but that's just a little tidbit. Another death that really killed me was Opie, the shoe poet. He was such a dear. Like, I loved him so much because he had so much wisdom and so much hope. And I mean, the edition that I have has the cover with the shoes on them, and after reading this and kind of seeing his perspective, I guess, just made this cover all the more symbolic. I love it when covers are symbolic of the story. And when he doesn't make it onto the life raft and the little boy is screaming like, Opie, like, he's like, don't worry, I'm coming, and he jumps off the boat and just doesn't make it, and it's just too cold and he sinks. I was just so emotionally distraught at that point because it's another soul that should not have gone through this, and someone who has worked so hard to survive and just barely made it. And I feel like that's just the case for a lot of the victims of this tragedy, that they were so incredibly close. Okay, so now that I am like thoroughly depressed by the amount of sad things that have happened in this novel, for my concluding thoughts, this was incredibly beautiful. I highly recommend you to read this for those of you who skipped ahead to this section and didn't read the book, but I hope that you guys do pick it up. And for those of you guys who have read this book, please share with me your thoughts. If you want to avoid spoilers, you can message me on my socials. They will be linked down below as always. This novel is just so incredibly important that I feel like everyone needs to read it. Everyone needs to know about this tragedy, because I personally didn't know about the Wilhelm Gustloff before reading this book, and I did so much research afterwards. And I really appreciated how Ruta Sepetys also included all the research that she went through in the book. She included some of it in the back so that we as readers could also look into that. So I thought that was very amazing, and it was very educational at the same time, which I appreciated. Like I said before, I gave Salt to the Sea a 4 out of 5 stars. It's a solid, amazing read, and I just highly recommend it to every single person, because I believe that this is a story that needs to be heard regardless of the fact that the characters themselves are fictional, the events are real, and the tragedies that happen are real, and the world needs to know, I think. So yes, it is now snowing outside, so that's great. It's so cold. It was like -1 degrees yesterday, so that was great. So that is all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this type of review. I'm still working on how I want to format my book reviews here on this channel, and I have to come up with a name. I currently have one, which is probably going to be in the title, but I don't know if that's the one I'm sticking with, so that's why I didn't mention it in the video. But yes, that's all I have. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!